that I've noticed is that I don't know the timings of this stuff because it sometimes can seem as if we've got to wait a few seconds and then it just yeah. But when you watch it back, it shows that we're just sitting waiting for 5 seconds before we talk. But anyway, welcome. How are you guys doing this evening? Saturday night.
Pretty good.
Pretty
Greetings,
good. Pretty
salutations, and jubilations. We are back for another podcast
good.
episode. Very excited to be here. Very excited to see you both and our amazing viewers and listeners.
Yes, and it's strange. We've got, before there was "Don't Be Cruel," before there was any heartbreak, there were "King of Stage" and "Under the Blue Moon." Yes, you needed to have your not so great albums before you can do your great albums. Hello, Emily, and this is going to be an interesting evening because it was so difficult that we had to combine both albums. Both of the albums, one from New Edition, one from Bobby, that came out the same year, that preceded their, one would say, their biggest selling album, which came out 2 years later. But anyway,
Oh,
how
can we just mention one
yes,
thing before? Really important thing.
yes,
The
go
shocking,
ahead.
the shocking, sad passing of one of our PR, music, soul, and R&B friends last week, Mr. J. Ross, the boss. We didn't manage to do a tribute
Yes.
to him. We're going to try and do a tribute podcast to him, but him passing
Mm.
away has stunned in the radio DJing soul community.
Yes, yes. For those who didn't know, I mean, Jay was, for independent artists, he was very influential in trying to promote their singles, and I would say he is the connecting me with Jackie, who's like now a big sister. I got connected to her through Jay. My interview with Mickey Howard, with also I Can Trey Loren. The last conversation I had with Jay was when he connected me with Trey Loren and set up that interview, because they're both in LA and he met up with him and twice he was going to do it just before Christmas, but Trey was busy singing with Mariah and he got this sort of so. I owe a lot to Jay, and he was, died in his sleep. He was probably in his mid 30s. So, yeah, yeah, they haven't done an autopsy to understand, but it just shows that you just never know. But anyway, so Jay the Boss. Melodic, welcome, welcome. I love the title of this, Bobby's Bold Beginnings. Yes, Bobby's Bold Beginnings. Yeah, so we are going to be looking at both the King of Stage album and Under the Blue Moon album. We talk about why they did those two albums and the legacy it left, and whether they were good albums. Some of us think they were good, or whether they were just strange albums to do. But anyway, what about you, Miss J? I mean, I know you're a massive New Edition fan. You've even got the vinyl behind you. What did you make of both the King of Stage album and Under the Blue Moon, released in '86? When you were still a thought in your parents' mind.
Well, I actually enjoyed the New Edition album. It was I remember the one song from the Karate Kid soundtrack kind of like catapulted this album. So I like old school music. I love the 50s, 60s type style music. So I actually enjoyed this one. But King of Stage was making me mad. I had to listen. It was like I wanted to fight. Like I had to fight to just listen to the entire album. I was like, whoa. I, but I had a favorite. I got a favorite song on there. Cause saw my
Okay.
rendition of it.
Okay. 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 Hey, Timmy Lee. So, you guys, as you're watching with us, hopefully you've listened to both albums, and please give us your thoughts and feedback about both albums as we go along, because we have various opinions about both albums. Stevie being one. So, what was your thoughts, Stevie, about both albums? Stevie, are you there? Could you hear us?
I can't hear you, Stevie.
Can now?
Oh, Stevie
Can you
is
not hear
frozen.
me?
Okay, he just looked.
Back.
Okay. We can hear you, Stevie. You were doing a Sheldon there for a second.
Wow.
Yeah. So, what was your thoughts on both albums, Stevie?
I'm looking at the time span that I actually got the albums. Firstly, the King of Stage album, I didn't know nothing about until I got Don't Be Cruel. So I got it maybe a year or two later. And I remember coming across it in the racks and thinking, what? There's another Bobby Brown album. This isn't Bobby Brown. King of Stage, look what he's wearing. I was like, what is this? It just didn't compute. So I thought, well, I'm going to buy it anyway. And like Miss J said, I played it and I was like, oh dear. I mean, 86 really. If you was buying soul and R&B music in 86, I mean, throughout the 80s, there's been some great years for soul and R&B. I'm not sure if 86 was one of them. I know that 83 was an incredible year, the early 80s especially. But 85, 86, I think a lot of artists didn't know what direction to take after Thriller came out. Thriller changed the landscape. So production-wise, what do you do? So I'm listening to this King of Stage, and there's a bit of like rapping going on. There's this and that going on, and only 2 or 3 tracks I could get my head around, and they were the cameo ones, which we'll go into. But I was at odds with it. But there was some tracks that I did like. In terms of the New Edition one, again, I got the album many years later after I'd got Any Heartbreak, and again I was like, "What's this? This is this is not New Edition." And then when I played it, I'm like, "What's this?" It came out in its mid-80s album, but it sounds like something out of the 1950s, some doo-wop thing. I played it once, and I only paid £1 for it, maybe $1 or whatever, and I thought, I'm not playing that again, and put it on my racks and completely forgotten about it until you said, Steve, should we do this New Edition under the Blue Moon album? I'm like, what? Really? We really got to go through this? But, you know, let's be fair, I did listen to it again. And I can see, I understand now. We'll go into the history of it, but I can see the appeal of it. And especially if you live in America, and in certain states in America, like the South, that album's probably everything to you because it makes sense. But over here in the north of England, not so much, I'm afraid.
No, but you have to also remember, Stevie, the time it came out, we had Greece. Remember Greece? So that was the type of music. They had a show called with the guys who sang in Greece called Shanana. They had their own variety show, and a lot of that music was in vogue. And then we had Back to the Future, which came out in the 80s, and a lot of that. So there was, I could see why around 80 in the mid 80s they did this type of album as a nostalgia. But I wanted to read out some of the albums that were released in 86 to give us some context, because sometimes you could talk about 86, listen to the albums and think they were really bad albums and compared to what might have come out. So 86 we had Anita Baker's Rapture. We had the Control album, which was one of the gold standard albums. So you can now start to see production of the Control album compared to what we got with these guys. Cameo's Word Up album came out in 86. So you can see some small influence with Bobby stuff, almost like some of the leftovers they put on that. We had Loose Ends. We had Babyface Lovers, our debut album. We had Elder Barge's debut album, which he said he hated because they didn't let him write any of the songs on his debut album, even though he's a songwriter. Dancing on the Ceilings by Lionel Richie. I know we had the Temptations, but we had Bobby Womack. We had U-Turn by Isaac Hayes, Raising Hell, Run DMC. So you can see some of the influences with Bobby Brown's when he was rapping. Freddie Jackson, he
What
was the
you
king of R&B at that time, just like the first time. Billy Ocean, Love Zones. Remember, Billy was big then. Um, yeah, Glenn Gruffy. And so that's just a list of some of the albums that came out in '86. So in a way, I think Patti Bell had an album out as well. So in a way, you can sort of see some of the songs that were out there, and you can start to wonder. Patti LaBelle had the "On My Own" when she had with Ronald Michael McDonald, so you can see some of the things that we were getting there. Prince had a "Kiss," remember "Kiss"? So what was that? Was what friends are for. Steph, when we had what's that Prince "Kiss," that album that came out in around '86. Gregory Abbott. So Orange Juice Jones.
Not a bad year then. Actually, not a bad year. Now you've mentioned all that.
Tamik Sosa came out with Rumors. Whitney Houston was around. When did she come out? Was it '85 with Howard Janelle?
Possibly, yeah.
Levert was out in '86. So in a way, Human League were out in '86 as well. Kool and the Gang. So there were some big, even the Gap Band. So what we wanted to try and do, even Lisa and Cult Jam were out there. So we wanted to, and Sade was out in '86. So one of the things, Atlantic Star. So in a way, you're looking at some of the songs that were out there. Melissa Morgan, Stacey Ladishaw was out. So
it's far better than
Midnight
2025, isn't it? Dear me, what? Far better than 2025. Dear me.
Oh, Roger and Zapp came out in '86 with Computer Love. So yes, let me see what was said. So that was just a context of what's happening in '86. Brando said Bobby had his very first solo show at the Navy Pier in Chicago. This was the very first thing Girlfriend was out before Girl Next Door, produced by Larry Hagman of Cameo. He was nervous that night. He seemed to learn to loosen up since then. Loose Ends was one of my favorite. Yeah, Loose Ends, British group and stuff. But in a way, I would say that it was a decent year. I think most of the artists seemed to look more mature compared to what Bobby and New Edition came out with. But also, let's talk about New Edition. You said, Stevie, you bought it after and listened to it and were surprised that they came out with this. And I do wonder if they didn't have a sense of what should we do with these young kids. They're young kids, and let's just do a cover album, because they just didn't know how to get the right sound from them after the Candy Girl and Popcorn Love and stuff like that.
Well, I have been doing a bit of homework, Namdi, about why this album sounded the way it did. It's down to a producer called Freddie Perrin, and before they even made that album, they did a track called "Sure Miss J Knows All About." That track, Earth Angel, was a hit, and it was in the movie Karate Kid 2, and it was a cover version. Now, I checked him out as was like, whoa, hold on a minute here. Fred Perrin was in Corporation, the Motown production group, who produced and wrote stuff like I Want You Back and all that. He was behind all that. Then he was part of he wrote and produced for a group called The Miracles, and he had two big hits with them called Do It Baby and Love Massage. They were like number ones, The Miracles. Now, if you go back to a song we know very well that's covered by Bex, it's so good. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Freddie Perrin wrote that track for GC Cameron. Was a huge hit, and then he ended doing some work on the Staying Alive soundtrack, Saturday Night Fever. He had a big hit on that, so he had a big resume. He was like, of the 50s and 60s, he was like the dark child, this Freddie Perrin guy. So obviously they got hold of him, did Earth Angel with New Edition for a soundtrack, that blew up, and they said, you know what, we might as well make a whole album like this. And he produced the album, and they did a bunch of covers, which we know a lot of them songs on there. But if you listen to Donald Trump, Let's Make America Great Again, I'm sure he's talking about the 50s, mate. I'm sure he's talking about the doo-wop rock and roll era, because it was, looking back in, the history of America and music, rock and roll really was a great time. You had obviously Elvis Presley, Little Richard. You all had all them 50s doo-wop a lot, groups, load of harmonies. So it kind of made sense. And now I understand the history of why they did this album. I can appreciate it a bit more. I can appreciate it a bit more, and who's behind it and why they chose them.
Yeah.
So if you're still awake, folks, after that little issue, if you're still awake, bro, there you go. That's why it sounded like it did.
Yeah. And I guess we have to appreciate King of Stage and Under the Blue Moon, because as bad as those albums were commercially, it then gave us the Heartbreak album and gave us the Don't Be Cruel, because that was they said we need to get into a direction that that mirrors. But the timing, they both came out in the same year,
right,
with both albums.
Well, look what happened.
It's really strange that
Well, it's not, Nam, because they got Bobby Brown was unceremoniously dumped from the group. So they've got New Edition. They got New Edition. They got Bobby Brown. MCA actually had to buy it again. Do me research here. MCA that year bought New Edition out of their site to get them to do, and this part of the album deal. So they did this album, and then you've got, who was it, Louis Silas or Jerry, who was on MCA at the time, didn't want to get rid of Bobby Brown. They saw potential, but it was like, what do them? And like you say, we're on the charts. They're having big hits with Wood Up, Candy. He probably knew Larry Blackman. They thought, let's get these guys in, do some tracks with Bobby. They were the big thing in the mid '80s. They were I remember on Top of the Pops. Old Larry Blackman with his red cod piece. Don't you ever seen that? Word Up with big red, flashy, gyrating his hip, red cod piece. So they probably thought, we got a bad boy here, Bobby Brown. Here's an older version of him, old Larry Blackman. Let's get these working together. See what'll happen. Kind of worked out. Not in a hit. Yeah, you know what I mean? I can understand the connections now a bit better.
That was a strange connection.
Yeah,
that's a strange connection though. Larry Blackman with Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown, that one video, he kind of was dressed like him without the.
What do you do in '86? What do you do? You can't make Bobby Brown a Frisson or Anita Baker. You can't go in that direction. He's not a soul man. He's young. He's a bit of a bad boy. He can rap a bit. So let's get a bit of beatboxing and rapping in. Let's get a few funky grooves in. New Jack wasn't around then, so the production they were trying was a bit hip hoppy. They hadn't molded fully R&B and hip hop together yet, so it was a bit of an experimentation. But some of the tracks, the cameo do work. Girl Next Door is fantastic. It's a great track. It worked well on that. Baby, I want to tell you something. They do sound like cameo tracks, but they work. But
yes,
they're not Bobby Brown.
Yeah. That did sound like a cameo.
Right.
Yeah, that is the key thing. I mean, Girlfriend. To be fair, however, I laugh about Girlfriend in the past, but that does suit Bobby. That does suit him. It does sound dated. It does sound more New Edition, but it does suit him.
Yeah, but if you think about they, Full Force came out in '85. Alice, I Want You Just For Me. So you can think that is such ahead of its time. And so they could have easily have gone full force to do that.
Do you think that track was overlooked?
Even
which one?
Which one?
Even though that Full Force was a hit, Alice, I Want You to Be My Girl, or whatever it was called. The production on that,
Yeah,
I'm thinking, shouldn't have everybody else around? They didn't at the time. It was sort of like, I think it took people by surprise. That sound, to be quite honest.
Yeah, yeah, maybe the image didn't match the. I mean, you just didn't know what to think of six guys who look like bodybuilders. It just didn't seem to work out and stuff. But I know that was a big song globally, just different. But as I said, when we look at both the albums, I do wonder how the guys at New Edition must have felt being bought out of their contract from Morris Starr, put on MCA, and they said, "Look, we're just going to do this," and they're looking over at Bobby, and he wasn't doing any better. I think "Girlfriend" was a nice little. That was a nice steady hit. You know, I think everyone remembers the video with him wearing that blue sweater and walking around the campus. It felt like, oh, okay, this is something. And then even "Girl Next Door" was different as well. But I think they just let me see, what was the other one? 17. I said, I think if you listen to it, I think I can appreciate King of Stage a little bit better. The one track, and we'll go into it. Baby, I Want to Tell You Something. I did think was a cameo track,
right?
But almost like, yeah, but you're young. We need to do some hip hop stuff. Oh yeah, and then the whole rapping in the middle of it, just kind of, yeah, we didn't need that. We didn't need that. Yeah, it was almost like a combination. Only three of them look like bodybuilders now. No, that was yeah. But with Full Force, but they were the three brothers with the face of the group and stuff.
I'll tell you what, though, Nan,
yes, if
I was planning on going to Turkey this year and maybe enjoying riding a camel in the Turkish sand dunes, I need a bit of camouflage. I think I'm going to take Miss J's head wrap because it's perfect camouflage, wouldn't it?
The hat, sir.
Yeah, for the desert.
As a hat, okay.
Very impressive. Very impressive this evening, Miss J, as usual. Very impressive.
Thank you, sir.
So, are you telling me, Miss J, because I know you've got Under the Blue Moon on. So, when you first got, is that an album or just a poster or the vinyl?
Album.
It's the album.
Yes.
So when you listen to it after Heartbreak and after, I'm sure you listened to it after Home Again. Did you not look and say, okay, what is this? Or what did you think?
No, I see the glass half full. I didn't think anything negative of it because I like old school music. So, Karate Kid, I was a fan of that movie, the series. And so I was crazy about Ronnie DeVoe and Ralph. So I also like Happy Days and Grease. Grease is one of my favorite movies. So
yeah, we all loved Happy Days was big as well. Stevie, did you not watch Happy Days?
Oh, Happy Days! Listen, you tune into Happy Days and you're waiting 10 minutes for that big moment where the Fonz had come in. Hey! No, come in! Hey! You know what I mean? That big moment when it comes in, that great moment. I'm here. I'm finally here, folks. Don't worry. I'm here to save the show. All Fonz there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What a guy he was.
So I can get the, and so that was a lot of the 80s. So there was a throwback to some of the 50s and stuff. As I mentioned, I don't know anyone watching if you remember the show by Shana now. That I remember as a kid watching that.
I mean, Grease is a film you can watch over and over and over again. It's just a classic film. Right. Great film.
Yeah.
There's certain films that were made in the 80s that I can watch over and over again. And Grease is one of them. Wizard of Oz, that weren't made in the 80s. It was made, but I can watch The Wizard of Oz over and over again. So yeah, that's another podcast anyway.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So I think just thinking about the album, I thought when I listened to, because I must say I hadn't listened to Under the Blue Moon until we did this, and so when I listened to it at first, I was like, "Oh goodness, it's so old school," But remember, Ghost came out with what was the name? All This Love by that song. And so it was easy to listen to the New Edition one and say actually felt more cohesive because the songs were all the same era. So it felt like a nice concept album. Ralph sounded amazing, and they pulled it off. It felt like as a group they pulled it off. And maybe if I'd listened to it in '86, I might have appreciated it more. Even though I appreciated it more now, it felt more cohesive compared to King of Stage, which had pockets of good songs, but was just all over the place. Elements of Bobby trying to find himself, but it just felt like we're pulled in different directions. And I had some nice production in some cases, and in some cases it was like, yeah, we're not sure what to do here. Let's just throw some rap here. Let's just scratch around here. Let's just put things together. King of Stage, and it's like, okay, it's I'm sure something would hit.
Yeah, but
that was my impression
Nandi,
of both albums.
Say you're going out to a record shop in 1986 and you're seeing what's coming out in the 80s. To be fair, there's a lot going on. You go in a shop and you're buying the new synth pop album by, say, the Pet Shop Boys. You're probably buying it, hip hop, like you say, a Run DMC album. There was just so many clashes of stuff going on. Heavy metal, rock, glam rock, all that was happening. Like you say, you Anita Bakers, and then you come across this album by these four young guys called New Edition, and it sounds something like out the 1950s. You're going to be like, what? But saying that, I remember on Top of the Pops in the 80s, there was always something that sounded like it came out the 1950s.
Right.
Like, do you remember Shakin' Stevens? I don't know if you remember Shakin' Stevens.
Yeah. That's the number one. Yeah, Green Door.
Cliff Richard. There was always something that harked back to the 50s because they were still clinging on to Elvis. 50s. But it's like now with us, we're in 2025 and we're still clinging on to the 90s.
Right.
So if you're like a young, some 23-year-old girl going to a record store and you're buying the new whatever's coming out, the new Dolce record or whatever, and then you see me next to her and I'm buying some night, and she goes, why is this old dude here buying some 90s thing? And I'm going to turn around and say, well, because that thing you're listening to there samples half of it. So, that's where it comes from. It's probably a bit strange to someone in the 20s, like, why are you still clinging on to the 90s?
You said, Sonny, that it just dropped because, yes, I do remember a lot of people would talk about the 50s and the 60s, and you're like, man, or even the 80s. And then, you're like, man, that's disco. Yeah, like disco. And like, why do you still listen to ABBA? And then you've now said 30 years later, we're still talking about the 90s like it was the golden era of R&B, and we're going on the 90s tour, and we're saying, yeah, it doesn't compare to the 90s, and yes, it's the same type of stuff. It definitely is something very similar. Okay, so. Yes, Emily, we remember Troop, and they came out. They formed around the early 86, 87, but they released their debut album in 88.
Where Miss J's coming from, why she prefers the New Edition. I get it. I do get it. It's probably got a more, when you listen to that, it probably has a more calming effect on you. Whereas that Bobby Brown album is a bit all over the place, isn't it? Really?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. They just threw something in the air and was like, okay, whatever song lands, we're going to do that one. It was. I
think the reason why I appreciate the Bobby Brown more, because I understand from a production point of view, especially in the 80s, where the album's coming from and what they were trying to do. So I get it more. Whereas I probably, there was a time when I thought, you know what, I've not got any of this 50s doo-wop in me. I remember in the early 2000s, there's this shop that I went in, this old soul shop, and they had a 50s doo-wop section. And I'm looking through it, and I didn't have a clue any of the groups, but I thought, I need to get some, I need to have some of this in my collection so I can have an understanding of it, like Little Anthony and the Imperials, which he does feature on the New Edition album. So, because them vocals, second to none vocals, you're going to get great vocals.
Yeah.
You're not going to get many good beats because they weren't doing beats then. They're relying on the voices.
No.
Them old-fashioned love songs. I mean, gosh, imagine Gen Z now listening to some of those songs about love and romance, and they'd be like, "What is this?" They just would be like alien to them, wouldn't it? Really, you know. Some guy on the floor,
but also like,
away, and they'd be like, "What?" Even the guys today, listen, the young dudes, they'd be like, "What? Men sang like that back then?" Well, yeah, they did. You know what I mean? You know, they didn't talk about your sneaky links back then, and your no capping, no cap.
Right.
And there was none of that back then, was there?
Right.
Yeah. But Under the Blue Moon is definitely a better produced album and put together album, and we can agree that King of Stage it was hit and miss, especially without knowing what direction we should take. Should we add some of this hip hop stuff? So definitely, but
well, I'll tell you what,
came out within a week of each other.
I'll agree to what you've just said there, apart from one thing. And that's the vocals. And I know Bobby Brown isn't known for his vocals, but I'm going to say controversially, I think his vocals on this album were better than New Editions on that album. I think they sound Ralph sounds, it sounds like Ralph hasn't established his voice yet. It's nice, it's all in tune, but it doesn't blow me away. And them guys, you know, they haven't got great vocals, Belle Biv DeVoe. They get by. Sir. So I'd say Bobby sounds good on this album. He sounds fresh, young, lively. He's singing and rapping. That's just my opinion. You can disagree. I'm sure you will disagree.
And
that's what I'm getting from hearing. And here's Miss J getting a boxing glove out now.
Right. Where my gloves at? Because no. Ralph and Ricky, there's no way. There's no way with that album.
Ralph's voice came in late years, not an issue with it. Far better than Bobby Brown's. But on this album, the vocals are not that strong on this album. They do enough.
Alone was beautiful. His speaking voice alone was beautiful on this album. Just speaking. But
the actual singing vocals, listen, they ain't standing up to Little Fred in the Imperials and some of them tracks they've covered.
Oh, I can't
you know what I mean? They're just.
Oh my god!
They sound very few.
No, but I think I think vocally I did prefer the New Edition one to King of Stage, and I think the Hey Simply Linda and Hopeful and DJ All Day. I think Bobby was shouting and screaming a bit. There were elements of classic Bobby that we grew to know, but he was just 16, 17. So he was still
in 1986 or 87.
86.
I thought he was 19 in that year. No.
There was another podcast when I said about that Bobby Brown Getaway track. His rapping just wasn't at it. It didn't sound good. And the reason why I said that, because I listened to his rapping on this album and it sounds far better. It just sounds far better.
Wait a minute. What you talking about? You saying the rapping on King of Stage?
What you talking about, Willis? I finally got Miss J to wake up.
You're talking crazy. You weren't talking crazy. You're telling me his Getaway. You think the King of Stage rapping was better?
You listen to Bobby Brown on Our Own. You listen to Bobby Brown on Every Little Step, them raps. Brilliant. You listen to Bobby Brown on Baby Wanna Tell You Something. Rapping's on point. He sounds on point on it. But on Getaway,
he was 17.
He sounds tired. He sounds really tired to me in that rap. Tired.
Anyway, we could definitely agree to disagree. He was 17 when he did King of Stage. So I think they were all around that age, and they didn't have an Usher or Chris Brown to model, as in what kind of music fits us. They really had to find their way around with both. So it was just 17 he's shouting us. So that was his age.
Me, you'll be all right. So, stick with me, you'll be all right.
I don't know
you will.
Yeah, Bobby was born in 69. And so, Okay. So I think, how do we do this? Because we've got the two albums, um, and I don't know if you rank them separately or individually. Um, I think it was hard for me to rank Under the Blue Moon because I kind of rated all the whole package as one. I think the King of Stage, I had some that I warmed to, but not all of them. I thought some of them was hard to gauge. Um,
I did
so,
do on your order. I did do a top 10, Namdi, and I did compile the best of each album.
Combine the two?
Yeah, into a top 10.
Okay.
So I followed your orders. Don't worry.
Miss J, what about you? How did you?
I did separate top 10s actually. I did my
Oh,
well
we
the stage only had 8 songs actually, right? I think it was 9. No,
Yeah.
I think 9. So I did the same. I did the rankings for each album separately, but. Whew.
Okay. Okay. Don't worry. I thought, yeah. I think, look, Bobby's a great rapper and entertainer and stuff. But I do prefer him subsequent later on. All right. So, Stevie, I mean, do you want to say what got you number 10 for you?
Yeah, I have no problems with that because there was only how many tracks on the King of Stage? 9. 9 tracks. So to fill number 10, I had to put a new edition one in. In fact, I'll be honest, I put 2 new edition tracks in here. So start at number 10, new edition, and I put "What's Your Name?" Da, 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 da. What's your name? That kind of stood out to me actually. I like that song. It's very, going up to a girl, Miss J, what's your name? So yeah.
He sounds so cute on that. His speaking voice was beautiful on that song. What's your name?
Yeah. So that was one of the standout tracks for me on that album. I can get that. What's your name?
Okay.
And these days, if you walk up to a woman, say, excuse me, miss, what's your name? They just ignore you and walk away. So changing times, unfortunately. Changing times. Until you get the unit,
them were the
you step
days.
aside that lap, they come back and walk the other way. Amazingly, I don't know why. They walk towards the car, they walk away from you, they come back to you and say, hey, what was she saying? Amazing. I don't know why though.
Those were the days. So Miss J, what about you?
Well, sir, let's see. Well, I have 2 different lists. So should I combine them? So I have for my my new edition, I have Bring Back the Memories. Bring Back the Memories. It didn't, I think that was an original song made for that album. And you could tell it was an 80s track. This guy's.
Oh, okay. I thought it was who had the song "Bring Back the Memories."
New edition.
Was that a different one? That was off the One Love album.
Oh, I know. Okay, it does sound like something. Yeah, that is a line from that song from the album. That was
Okay.
I'm surprised.
Timmy Lee had 1,000 Miles Away, and Melodic had Duke of Earl.
Somebody said, "Fix my face."
Yeah.
No, it was referring to when you had that little. When I mentioned about
no,
Bobby
when Stevie said that
Brown and he's rapping, and you just like went, what is referring to, Miss J? Not your actual face, but
yeah.
What did you have, Mandy, at number 10?
Like Timmy Lee, I had 1,000 Miles Away. 1,000 Miles Away.
That's your number 10. Okay.
Yeah. As I said, the second. Okay, so number 9, Stevie.
You know what? I've tied a new edition track with a Bobby Brown track because I wasn't sure if I really like the King of Stage title track. I can really do without that track. It's the only track I can do without it on the
King of
album.
Stage,
really?
And I've only put 2 new edition tracks in this top 10. But I thought Earth Angel No, that's that I can get with that. I can get with that track. And I like Karate Kid 2. I forgot actually because Karate Kid 1 and 2 are some of my all-time favorite 80s movies. I didn't know they had a track in it. And I've watched that scene over and over. I didn't know it was New Edition. But so Earth Angel has kind of clashed with King of Stage, but to appease Miss J, and I don't want her falling out with me tonight, I'm going to go with number 9, New Edition, Earth Angel. Earth Angel, that'll do for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Benzie, got to keep the ladies happy at some point.
I'm a little confused how you said you only have 2 New Edition tracks on your top 10 list. So
that's just because I like the Bobby Brown album better. I just like the album. So
King of Stage.
Well, listen, if you'd have combined, you'd have just a combined top 10, how many New Edition tracks would you have put in it and how many Bobby Brown tracks? 5 of each? 6-4? What would you have done?
Maybe 3 Bobby Brown songs. If I do that, only 3 Bobby. If I'm going to combine them, only 3
fair
Bobby
enough.
Brown songs are going to
Fair enough. So you can't criticize me then for only putting 2 New Edition tracks in the top 10.
Yes, I can.
If you'd have only put 3 Bobby Browns.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Don't worry, folks. We'll bring you back. We'll bring you back in a few Bobby Browns. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think I had there were 4 that I liked on King of Stage, and I think that it was harder for me with the New Edition because they were more sentimental ones, songs that I've listened to that I enjoyed, and so that they moved around there. Yeah, Larry Blackman did King of Stage. Yep. I know you didn't talk about this, but let me see a little bit. But Takes New Edition. It wasn't on this album. It was on the soundtrack. Okay, Miss J, what was your number 9?
What was that?
I'm about to change this list right now, but because I'm taking Bobby. I don't even want to read Bobby's. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna go with Duke of Earl. Duke of Earl, New Edition.
She's only saying that because of me.
No.
Yes, Miss J. Yes, Miss J. You got the hump. You got the hump with me now, so you could put Bobby Brown out because of that reason.
I'll put some Bobby on here though. I'm gonna put some Bobby on the list.
Oh, I hope you do.
Yeah. Okay. So you had Duke of Earl. Yeah, I think. Let me see. I did have. I did have What's Your Name, a nice New Edition one, as my number 9 track. As I said, most of the tracks were similar. You know, it was just whether I knew the song or not. But that was my number 9. Yeah. Okay, Stevie, what about you? Number 8. Where do we go? To Bobby or to New Edition?
Well, we'll go to the Bobby Brown album. But what I will say about Earth Angel, if you try to stream it at the moment, apparently it's not. It's the one track they took off the album, so you can't even stream it. You can listen to the rest of the album. Apart from Earth Angel, it's not on streaming. So you're gonna have to do what me and Miss J did and go out and buy the album to hear Earth Angel, or watch the YouTube video. So I'm starting at number 8 with Bobby Brown and Spending Time. The ballad. There's a guitar thing in it, and I'm listening. I know it's used in something else, but I can't think what other track it's used in. Anybody in the comments can tell me what that. It's from another soul track. I'm certain it is, but it's a nice track, and I like it for the guitar bit in it. So, but if anyone could tell me, please tell me. It's doing me head in.
What song is that?
Spending Time. It's one of the slow tracks. There's 2 slow tracks on it. I'm spending time with you. Da, 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 da.
That don't sound like the same song, Stevie.
He was King of Stage. Okay. Let me see if I can pick it up. Yeah, actually, as I said, when I did listen to it at first, I'm like, what kind of rubbish is this? Then you listen to it again, and it's like, okay, I could, I mean, apart from, as I said, King of Stage, which, yeah, okay, all right, Miss J. So, what did you have? Number 8.
Number 8. I'm gonna try to put Bobby in here, okay? See, this is on my Bobby list. Is higher up, but I'll put Girl Next Door. I'll put Girl Next Door number 8.
Yeah, I listened
What
to
you
that.
talking
And
about? Well, it's a number 8.
Beverly Hills Cop.
And
That the sound they use in Beverly Hills. That was the yep.
And you know what about Girl Next Door?
Next
It
Door
looked like a cameo video too. To me, it was like he was dressed like Larry Blackman without the red piece. And then the crazy thing about Girl Next Door is the guy who played, what's the actor's name? Payne. Is it Carl? Is it Carl Payne? He played Cockroach. He's also like he is the boyfriend in that video Girl Next Door, right? And Bobby Brown is peeking in the keyhole, but he's also Bobby Brown's first baby mama's husband. I'm like, so in that same video, that's the same guy that ended up getting with Bobby's girlfriend at the time. Girl Next Door video.
In real life?
I'm sure fans probably know that. But like the Girl Next Door video of Bobby Brown, the guy who's the girlfriend's, the girl he's staring at, her boyfriend in the video, is actually the guy from Martin. He played Cole and Martin, right? And he's also Bobby Brown's first baby mother, Landon's husband. So like, that's strange.
Oh.
So two of her men were in that video.
Oh, they're on a budget then.
Okay.
They're on a budget. Then.
Okay.
They just rushed her in.
Yeah. Okay.
The guitar playing on that track is amazing though.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant guitar playing on that.
Someone said they wanted to be the same director of Strange. Yeah, it does look like that. Carl Payne. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll give Girl Next Door as well as number 8 because even though it was one of the songs I remembered, it didn't sound as good when I listened to it repeatedly just to make up my list. I did have more favorite ones on the Under the Blue Moon. So Girl Next Door. Back to you, Stevie, number 7.
So you had what? Under the Blue Moon at number 8?
No. Girl Next Door. Girl Next Door, number 8.
You kidding me?
8.
What?
There were 3. There were 2. Yeah, I had songs that I preferred more on that album.
Wow.
There were songs I liked better on that album.
Wow. And you didn't like Girl Next Door that much? That was like one of the. That was
it was more familiar, but when I listened, I think it sounded. I think it sounded very 80s, and it didn't age well when I kept listening to it.
Do you like Cameo? I don't know if you like 80s Cameo. I did like it. I like She's Strange.
Oh yeah, Cameo. I mean, Cameo's yeah.
Word Up, Cameo. I liked all that.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised because I thought Girl Next Door was a really good track.
Yeah, but it's not as good as Baby I Want to Tell You Something. Yeah.
That,
I think Girl Next Door is one of the, that.
I think there's only really three really strong tracks on this album. The rest you could probably leave, but I think that's one of them. But then again, that's my opinion. Anyway, number 7, I got You Ain't Been Loved Right. You ain't been loved right. Did it, Miss J? You ain't been loved right. Ba 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 da ba. You ain't been loved right. Da 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 ba 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 da ba. Did you like that one, Miss J?
No, sir. That was the 9 on my list when I made it. That was the worst song of the bunch.
You ain't been loved right. Bum, ba, bum, bum, bum. Oh, I like that. I kind of like that.
You ain't been right. Look, you ain't been loved right. You haven't been written right. That
you
ain't
been loved right. But
You
he's not lying, is he? He's not lying, Miss J. You haven't been loved right. You haven't been loved right. He's not lying.
Who cares?
He's telling the truth. The brown plumber, Bobby Brown's telling the truth, yo. He's telling the truth. Telling the truth.
I'm gonna go with Whitney on this one. Go to the now.
She's gonna kill me after this show. She's gonna kill me, Miss J, after this show. I'm telling you.
I can't believe you like
Buckle
that
in,
song.
folks.
Timmy Lee had girlfriend at number 7.
Buckle in, folks. It's gonna be me and Miss J really like going at it this podcast. It's gonna be
I
one
want
of
to know,
them
do you like
podcasts.
raisins in your potato salad? Do you eat raisins in your potato salad? That's what I want to know. I think you do.
Anyway, number.
So what did you get?
7. Miss J.
My number 7, I'm gonna put Bobby Brown "Spending Time with You." I actually like the song. That was one of the best songs on the album.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm glad you like it.
I like Bobby, but just not this album. What you listening to?
So yeah, for me, I didn't mind this. 17 was my number 7. And actually, I would say that as much as I liked Under the Blue Moon as a concept album, I couldn't separate too many of the songs because I listened to them and thought the song is familiar, and I like how they sang on it, but it wouldn't. I think Bobby had songs that I could either like or loathe, and I think majority of my list would come from the King of Stage album because I sort of the other songs just all sounded familiar, and they were all together. Yeah. So 17 is number 7 for me.
17 was a serious matter, wasn't it? That the lyrics on that song. I'm surprised they released that as a single. That was like the Brenda's Got.
But that was his age.
That was very Brenda's Got a Baby type. I'm surprised
He was just a kid himself, so. Number 6 for you, Stevie.
Blue Moon, Miss J, I saw you sitting there all alone. Blue Moon. No, actually, I've got Your Tender Romance. Your Tender Romance. Your Tender Romance.
Actually, that was Paul Jackson Jr.
Yeah, I like that. Your Tender Romance. I mean, Blue Moon, we all sing that at Manchester City. That's one of the Manchester City Football Club anthems, that. Blue Moon, I saw you standing alone without a care in the world. That was actually used in... Miss J, have you seen a film called American Werewolf in London? The guy who directed it is the same guy who directed Michael Jackson's Thriller video.
I don't like him.
John Landis.
I don't like him.
Well, that's where you hear that
And he
song.
also did Black and White.
Yeah, but I've
I
gone
can't
for your
pick that song. So he
Your
like
Tender
that song.
Romance.
Oh
Bum,
my
bum,
God.
bum. It's got a groove to
Malik
it.
says that he likes.
Groove. It's got a groove. Yeah.
Malik says there's the Bobby Brown 17 extended club mix re-edited by Greg Royal.
Okay, since you mentioned Tender Romance, I want to listen to the first few seconds of it. Only the intro, because to me that song is difficult, y'all. Okay.
Have a listen 30 seconds of it.
That's the only part I like. You know why I like that?
Okay.
It reminds me of this.
And what's that?
That was Whitney, So Emotional. So like the intro
Okay.
made me go to Whitney. So that's the
Interesting.
only reason why I like the first few seconds of the song. That's it. Other than that.
Anyway, good evening to Brandon. Good evening to who else we got? Hopeful. Hopeful, Miss Hopeful. What are you hopeful of this evening? What are you? Tell us. Do tell us. Malik, good evening. Melody, good evening. Timmy, good evening. Anybody else tuned in tonight? He's spending time with us. Us Mad 3, going on about these albums. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Mr. What did you put
For
down?
number 6, are we? Okay, number 6, I have 1,000,000 to 1. I think Ralph did a great job on Under the Blue Moon. I want to say Under the Cherry Moon when I'm thinking about this title of this album, but because of Prince.
Yeah,
Under the Blue Moon, 1,000,000 to 1. Ralph did a great job, and I love the backgrounds on it. So number 6.
okay. Earth Angel is
Nice.
number 6 for me. Starts it off, nice little stuff. As I said, I thought the guys did well for an album that was not meant to be their third album, I guess. But as you said, it's probably the business. They needed to get them out sometimes. You know, for anyone who remembers, like when Fox had the rights for Sony had the rights for Spider-Man, and Fox had the rights for X-Men and Fantastic Four. And part of the contract was every couple of years they had to put out a new movie, whether it's good or bad. They just had to put it out, or they lose the rights back. And so it felt as if we've got these kids, as Stevie says, we need to put out something. Let's just do a quick cover album, and then start working on them. And we got the masterpiece, which is Any Heartbreak, Can You Stand the Rain, and all that stuff. That was the result of, you know, the kids saying, man, you know, we need to, these songs just didn't represent the best of us. Okay. So I had her for Angel as my number 6. Stevie, what's your number 5?
Can you get up Ben? Is it Ben Zen's question, please, Fonsa? Did you frequent Expansion Records in your younger day? How did you know, sir, or miss, whoever you are? I did. And you know what? Time I walked past on the street where that shop used to be, I had a tear goes down my face because I miss it so much. Every Saturday morning, that's where I'd be when I was like 17, 18, 19, buying Zan's first album, all the Guy 12s, all the new Jack Swing that had come out that week. I was buying it, and they used to rip me to shreds in that shop for buying it. They used to do the MC Hammer dancing. Hey, Steve, we got this R. Kelly album for you. That vibe, and then they'd be doing all the dancing like that. And honestly, I remember to this day that record coming out, and some guy went, "Can I ever listen to it?" So they put it on the deck. They played She's Got That Vibe for the first time in the shop. And everyone in the shop's like, "Can I have one? Can I have one?" And they went, "No, it's Steve's. You got it for Steve."
Oh, wow.
And he gave it to me. And then they're all
Well,
going,
did they just buy one album?
"You don't even like New Jack Swing. Why do you want a copy? You guys don't even like this stuff. It's for Steve." So I got it that day, and I was very happy. Same with Mint Condition.
Wait, did they just get one copy?
If it was a swing beat record,
Would they just get one copy?
They got like, if it was a big soul album, like say Will Downing or a Freddie Jackson, they get like 20, 30 copies in. But if it was some like young TLC or some young New Jack thing, because they were selling to like older soul people, they'd be like, "Well, we'll try that. We'll risk it. We'll get one copy in, see if anyone buys it." And they'd always go, "Well, we'll sell it to Steve anyway. He'll buy it. He buys all that young stuff anyway." And if I knocked it back and said, "No, I don't want it," they got upset. Special Generations first album, they played it me, and I went, "Nah, I don't want it." I'm like, "What? We've got this in for you. We've got this special for you." And I should have bought it, but I just didn't get it at the time. So, but yeah, Expansion Records, that record shop.
He might have messaged Stevie.
Oh, I used to catch the train on a Saturday morning, dude, from Chorley. Wow. And I bought all my New Jack Swing from there. They took the mic from me. Jeez, I had no idea. So you was getting it as well, sir. Wow. I'm stunned. You probably...
I knew I recognized you.
He used to take
Probably the
mic
one that says, "Hey, can I get that?" And
yeah.
he's probably one of the ones who said, "I want the record." And they said, "No, it's for Steve."
Yeah, possibly.
Oh, good.
It's a small world. Small.
Yeah, it definitely is. So, Stevie, what makes you number 5?
Oh, sorry. I forgot we're actually on a Bobby Brown podcast. Love Obsession. Love Obsession is my number 5 tonight. Love. Oh, hold on. I just need to hold on. Remember how actually that sounds. Oh yeah. Yeah. Now that sound at the moment, that 80s sounds really in. It's actually really. It's on Love Obsession at the moment. Like, yeah, that's that. Sounds very 80s, but it is what it is. But number 5. Miss J, what about you, number 5?
What's your name? What's your name? New Edition. You know, I love Ralph's voice.
That's a good pick.
I know what you were saying about it. I disagree, and I do love how he was speaking at the end. You know, New Edition songs usually are, the speaking parts are usually done by Michael Bivins, which I don't understand, but maybe because they want to give him something to do. But Ralph, I guess he can't do everything, but Ralph's voice when he speaks is just so beautiful.
I mean, listen, viewers, how boring would it be? How boring would it be if me and Miss J just agreed with everything? How bored. You tune in and me and Miss J and Namdi are just, oh yeah, you're so right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. You just get bored, wouldn't you? You get fed up. So
Yeah, I echo that, Benzi. Yeah, Malik's got an amazing channel with his singles and remixes and extended mixes. Your Tender Romance was number 5 for me. Paul Jackson Jr. and really funky and everything. So as I said, there were elements. I appreciated the album third time listening to it more so than I did when I first listened to it. So we're in top 4. So I think majority of my album songs are going to come from King of Stage. But we'll see. Stevie, what's number 4 for you?
This is the song where he tells a story about some young girl getting pregnant at a young age, at 17. So it's a pretty serious subject matter. And that, you know, for Bobby to be singing about that, what age did Bobby get his girlfriend pregnant? Was it 17? I don't know. I suppose
he was 19.
Yeah, I suppose he could relate to that song, really. So yeah, I like that song, 17. I do like it. It's number 4 for me.
Okay, Brando. Take to you later, Brad. I mean, has been around since in 2 weeks' time is 5 years on Halftime Chat, and he's been around since the very, very, very beginning. I remember Brando being there. So yeah, good to see that you're back in with us tonight. Yeah. Okay. Timmy, number 4, you got Bring Back the Memories. I hear that and I'm thinking about the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis production on One Love, Bring Back the Memories. Okay. And favorite track on the album and the great Robert Booking production. Okay, Miss J, what's number 4 for you?
Number 4 is the only song that Ricky Bell got to lead on this Under the Blue Moon album, and that's Hey There, Lonely Girl. Give me more Ricky Bell.
Hey there, lonely girl. Miss J, why Ricky Bell?
I feel he's like an underdog. I feel like he doesn't get it. I appreciate his vocals. Like, he showed us when he was in BBD what he could do. And I just feel like he was slept on for a long time. And he could have done more on this album. Like, there are so many parts that I'm like, I want to hear Ricky do that. Like, but we didn't get Ricky. So this one, I like Ricky's voice. I love Ricky Bell. So I want to hear. I love them all, but Ricky Bell, come on, but they don't use him enough. They didn't use him enough until after they saw what he could do with Poison.
So in order of favourites, then you've got Ricky Bell in terms of your favourites from like say 5 to 1. Number 1 is Ricky Bell.
You mean singers of all time?
No, if you had to put the guys in order in how much you like them. No, in general, New Edition in general, you take all 6 of them. Who's your number? Ricky Bell's your number 1. We know that. So who's number 2?
No, actually, Ronnie's my number 1. Ronnie's my number 1 because of his everything. But vocally,
Ronnie is a revelation. She changed her mind.
No, Ronnie's my favorite.
You said you was a Ricky Bell girl.
But well, I love Ricky Bell's voice. Ronnie doesn't sing like Ricky, you know. But we know Ronnie's not the singer. But I still love Ronnie. Ronnie's my favorite. Always has been. Always will be.
Well, even though he's vocally, favorite.
Ronnie is just everything. Ronnie
even though
great showmanship. Ronnie all around guy. I love Ronnie. But Ricky, to me, is under. They didn't use him enough in the beginning, and I think that Ricky was like a hidden gem, and he could have done more, and they didn't give him more. Like we got like the slow songs from BBD. Hey ladies, you know how he was. Oh, Ricky was bringing the house down. Like I mean, still Ricky's voice is still beautiful. I don't know if they just didn't. If he wasn't, you know, we saw the movie. I don't know if he wasn't coming to the studio because Ralph was assigned to do all the roles. But old school music, Ricky had the voice for that. Like, Hey There Lonely Girl, his voice was perfect for that song. And I needed more of those high notes he was hitting on this album. Ralph,
all right, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question then. Let me ask you this, right? And this is just, don't take it too seriously. Just hypothetically. Okay. It's never going to happen. It never did happen. But in your younger days, one night you went to see New Edition live. After the concert, you got backstage and you was in the room with New Edition and you had some drinks. And then from then on, you couldn't remember the night. You woke up the next morning and realised you were pregnant by one of them. Which one would you have been happiest to be pregnant by?
The one who got lips like mine. That's Ronnie DeVoe.
There you go. There you answered the question there.
The one
that's a favourite then.
Sorry,
it's not Michael Jackson,
but that's it. Who would you be? Who would be your number 4 on your list?
We talking about the song, right?
Yeah, the song. We're back to the song. We're back to the song.
Oh, dearie me.
Hey there, lovely girl. Hey there, lonely girl.
Okay. Okay.
Trouble. You are trouble, Stevie.
Yeah. I mean, I could ask Namdi the same question if he got backstage with En Vogue, and which lady would he have liked to have woke up to next in the morning? But we won't go there. We won't go there. He's a married man.
Blue Moon was number 4 for me.
Blue Moon. You traitor.
I mean,
because you're a Liverpool fan.
I'm surprised.
Very well Manchester City's theme tune, Namdi. You're a traitor.
I even wonder how they took that. It's not as good as Never Walk Alone, but you know, yeah. It's a Blue Moon, but they did well. So I've got my top 3 now. Okay, Steve, what's number 3 for you?
Let's get that comment up from Red Golden Child, please. What does it say? Let's get
the Met Gala.
That up. Miss J. Wright, you are so pretty. Your soul is winning always. There you go.
Thank you.
Met Gala here on Halftime Chat. Look at that, eh?
So sweet.
Okay, Timmy Lee's put his number 3 down. Baby, I want to tell you something. What's your number 3,
That's a great.
Stevie?
My number 3 is girl. I can't sing it. Is it I want a girlfriend holding and loving you tonight? Jokes aside, I like that track.
Kissing you time.
I can't listen to it a lot though. I've got to be in a kind of mood, certain kind of mood to listen to that because it's a bit soppy, isn't it? It's all a bit soppy. I want a girlfriend holding. I wonder how Bobby Brown feels about that track now. I wonder how he feels about it.
I don't think you're a fan of that song.
Do you think he still likes it?
Right.
Do you think he likes it though? No.
He doesn't sing it. He never sings it.
Why not?
Maybe it was, I don't know.
Doesn't, does he?
It's better songs. Maybe that's why. But I like it.
Interesting.
I like
it. Well, it kind of sounds a bit
So what did
like
you
an
have for
oldie.
them?
Sounds like an oldie.
Yeah. That's true.
Mm-hmm. What did you have for your number 3?
My number 3, Since I Don't Have You, New Edition. Ralph and Ricky. I got to hear Ricky more on this song, so I heard the back and forth of Ricky and Ralph. So I was happy, and Ricky was singing in higher register. So I love it. Since I Don't Have You.
Okay.
And y'all know they got married together, right? They had a duo married.
I'll tell you what's interesting. I've just noticed something quite interesting about that track. It says strings arranged by Gene Page. You know who Gene Page is? He's the guy who does all the strings and orchestra for Barry White. Gene Page. All that Barry White stuff, loves orchestrating all the strings. He's the guy. He's the guy that does it all. He's a bit of a legend, that Gene Page. And it also mentioned, I've got to check the Skyliners. What a name for a group. Check them out, the Skyliners. So you're number 3.
Yes. I did. Yeah. So number 3 for me is. Oh goodness, am I so sure about this? King of Stage. I think as bad as the song was, it was.
Terrible.
There were elements of me saying, "This is the Bobby that later did Prerogative," because it felt like okay. Because when I compared that to the Blue Moon, under the Blue Moon, that felt controlled, choreographed. Everything was in place. King of Stage just felt as if it was just all over the place. And Bobby, just do your thing, whatever it is. And if you notice how Bobby, in subsequent albums, he had his own unique vocal stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, I know, and I don't know if you guys have seen the interview with Show Shock from Show Shock and Carlin, and he's not supposed to be on Whitney Houston's Heartbreak Hotel, but he said, yeah, let me sing the chorus and stuff, and he's all over the place. But I think the seeds of just do your thing, man. Don't follow a script. Even Daryl Sims talking about working with him on Don't Be Cruel, he was all over the place, and they had to contain him. So you can see the seeds here. So King of Stage,
right?
It was just all over the place. But I just said I can see where he was just allowed to become himself, and people just said, "Let's see what you've got to bring." Yes.
I like that analogy there. Now,
and I said it. I said it's bad, but I just think, yeah, somebody was saying it's bad, but it's in my top three. I just thought it was just like, I love Bobby. There's, I, the reason why he's in, people love him is just because when you see him during that Don't Be Crude tour, he was just memorizing, and he didn't sing as good as Ricky or Ralph or Johnny, but he has something in his vocals that you can just like, it's almost, he sings like, if I could sing, that would be my level. I can't go any higher. That would be the level. And he sings like, yeah, you know what? I'm an average singer, but I'm singing with my personality. And I think that I could see him in this. At first, I didn't like it, but when I kept listening to it, I was like, I can hear Bobby now. I can start to hear him. And the King of Stage was crazy. He just throw this in there. Let's scratch this. Yeah. Top two, Stevie.
I was watching the other night a podcast Bobby Brown did with Mike Tyson. And it's been on YouTube now for a few years. And it was in my watch list to watch, and I finally got around to watching it. But I didn't know this because I remember, I mean, for those who are into boxing, because I'm a huge boxing fan, I remember how upset and gutted I was the night Mike Tyson got beat by Buster Douglas in Japan. I was just like, the whole world was in shock. How could Mike Tyson get knocked out by some dude called Buster Douglas? Well, his name is Buster. He's going to bust you up, which he did. But the story with that is Buster Douglas lost his father a few weeks before, and he did it as a tribute to his dad. He got himself in shape, got ready for the fight, and he ended up taking it to Tyson. But what I didn't know is, and I was stunned by this, Bobby Brown was also in Tokyo at the same time touring.
Mm-hmm.
And the pair of them were hanging out together every night, partying, girls, getting high. And that's why Mike Tyson lost the fight and got knocked out, because he was partying with Bobby Brown. It's all Bobby Brown's fault. Bobby Brown had him partying. And he just said to Bobby, he said to Bob, I remember we were in the hotel room together and I had to go. I said, man, I got to take care of this guy. I got to go and I'll be back late when I've knocked this guy out. It'll take me a few rounds. Because that's all he ever did for Tyson, didn't he? Was knock him over in about 3 rounds and the fight would be over. So obviously, Mike Tyson gets off, leaves Bobby, goes to the fight, and then ends up losing the bloody fight, doesn't he? And lets us all down. That killed the party, didn't it? So I did not know that. I'm blaming. Some people blame Bobby Brown for Whitney's demise. I'm not having that. That wasn't, she was already doing drugs in the late 80s before she met Bobby. Can't blame that on him. But I didn't know Mike Tyson was hanging out with Bobby and what he was getting up to, but it all makes sense now. So some more little nostalgia there. Number 2 is, I put this at number 1. It's the shortest track on the album, and I wish there'd have been an extent. I wish they'd have released it as a single and give it an extent. Baby, I want to tell you something. Da, 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 da. Yeah. Oh, what a track that is. The rapping. Fire, Miss J. The rapping, baby. How can you not like that track? What's wrong with you? What plan are you guys on? Why is that not in your top 10?
Wait on my word.
Yeah. Baby, I want to tell you something. Da, 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 da.
You know it.
That's your number 2?
That's your number 2. Wow.
It is. Big shout to Malik Jefferson, who he said Bobby mentioned Smooth B on King of Stage. Smooth B, is that from Nice and Smooth, the rap duo? What a duo they were. Yeah. So Baby Want to Tell You Something is at number 2. Wish he was at number 1. Can't have it all. Miss J, what's at number 2 for you?
Number 2 for me.
Look at those eyes. Oh, look at those eyes it's giving me, folks. Look at those eyes. There you go. There you go.
You got me thinking about stuff when you talked about Mike Tyson, Bobby Brown, and Bobby Brown's sister was dating Mike Tyson too around that time, but he was off with a bunch of other women too.
Really?
Yeah, Leola.
You've got all the gossip. You've got all the back stuff gossip that I don't know about.
So you started it just now. I'm trying not to go to number 2. I'm going to number 2. So number 2, I of course picked New Edition, Tears on My Pillow. I like this song, but the interruption by Little Anthony I thought was great. Who sang the original song, and it was cute that he was kind of complimentary and shady at the same time in his part, because he was saying that you cats are bad, but then he tells Ralph to keep trying because he wasn't getting the part how the original guy sang it. So I think Ricky should have done the part that Ralph was doing, that the runs that was on the original song, but I still will pick number 2, Tears on My Pillow, because Little Anthony added to this song. A good track.
Tears on my pillow.
Yes.
Wasn't that in Greece? I'm sure that there's something in Greece that reminds Tears on my pillow.
It was.
Okay. Number 2 for me is probably the most memorable song on there. I need a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Need you right now. Yes, so that's number 2.
I thought that'd be your number 1, actually, Namdi. So you surprised me tonight.
It could have been, but I have to. My number 1 is just a little bit. Something takes over the edge. Yeah. So what's your number 1?
Should I start from number 10 down to number 2?
Go ahead.
New Edition, What's Your Name? You know what? I will go back to that song. What's Your Name? Number 9 is Earth Angel, New Edition, and I've left King of Stage off. I'm sorry, Namdi. Number 8, Spending Time. Number 7, You Ain't Been Loved Right. Number 6, Your Tender Romance. Number 5, Love Obsession. Number 4, 17. Number 3, Girlfriend. Number 2, Baby Wanna Tell You Something. And number 1, I just think it's the standout track on it, in my opinion anyway. Like I say, it is very Larry Blackman. It's very cameo. I like the guitar playing in it. I like Bobby singing in it. It's The Girl Next Door. And guys, you know we all like the girl next door. When we see a nice, cute girl next door, we're checking her out. We check her out, don't we? You guys know what I'm talking about. You know, not the girl who's got like the porn star lips, tattoo down her arm, you know, and a skirt up her bum and all that. Not, you know, and the fake, you know, where these girls dress these days. So too much in it. It's like some out of a porn movie. You don't want that. You want the girl next door. So yeah, The Girl Next Door is my number 1. There you go.
Okay.
What are you saying, Miss May?
What's porn star lips, sir? What's porn star lips?
But that thing, what's it? They inject into the lips to make the lips bigger. What's it called? Botox. Is it Botox? And it pouts the lips right up. Horrible.
Oh.
Yeah, fillers, that's it. Oh, terrible. Oh, why do girls do that to the lips? I don't get it. Ladies, explain that. Why do you do that to your lips?
You know why? Because they don't have them.
Why mess with what God gave you? Why mess with what God gave you? I mean, these girls now go to Turkey for like BBLs, getting big bums. You know, crazy. Just so they can look good on Instagram. Shame. It's a real shame what's happened. You know, the precious young ladies put themselves to look good. But that's for another podcast. Number
Timmy Lee had Earth Angel as number 1. Melodic had 17 as his number 1. Somebody say, what's your number 1?
Number 1?
No, you can count down.
Before Namdi falls asleep, please.
Oh, Lord. Okay, maybe number 1. I'm going to just go to number 1. I'm not going to do the countdown because I don't want you to fall asleep on it.
No, you can. Do the countdown. You can do your countdown.
Yeah, you can go down.
Okay.
Yes.
So number 10 is Bring Back the Memories, New Edition. Number 9, Duke of Earl. 8, Girl Next Door. 7, 1,000 Miles Away. 6, no, I changed it to Spending Time with You. And then 6 is A Million to One. 5, What's Your Name? 4, Hey There, Lonely Girl. 3, Since I Don't Have You. 2, Tears on My Pillow. 1, I want 2 of them to be number 1 now. Can I speak? Since we're
Pick
doing a
2.
double
Well,
album,
I'll allow
double
you that.
number 1.
Nandy won't.
Number
Nandy,
1.
I'll allow you. Pick 2, please. Pick 2.
Number 1, Earth Angel, and number 1, Bobby. Number 1A, Earth Angel. Number 1B, Bobby Brown, Girlfriend. I need
Wow. Wow. Good pick. Yeah. That makes sense for you, that. Makes total sense.
I love Earth Angel.
Big girl,
Okay.
loving and holding. So, Girlfriend did well
I
this evening.
think,
He got a 1, a 2, and a 3.
yes. Yeah, here's number 2 for me. But, baby, I want to tell you something. To me, I had to pick as my number 1.
Yes.
Maybe because I knew it was influenced by Cameo. But it's so funky, and yes, of course, they wanted to say, look, let's add some hip hop into it. Where he's doing some entry level stuff, but I felt it was just so smooth. I felt it was just so, yeah, I just loved it. I do wonder if they could have done a single and really pushed it, but who knows? Who knows? But they decided, instead of working on this album, let's just go back to the drawing board. And then we get a 16 million selling masterpiece, which kept him dominating the charts and the road and the industry for the next 3 years. So, baby, I want to tell you something. I mean, yeah, it is amazing how it's like, look, this formula works, Bobby. You need to follow the formula that we're using. Okay. Steve, you didn't have many new edition in your list.
Only 2. Because, like I say, I'm not really grown up with it. I've not listened to it I've only played it twice in my life, so it'd be unfair. And I know the Bobby Brown album more. But as a good token of, I picked a few tracks that over the week that I've been listening to it that kind of stood out, and that was Earth Angel and What's Your Number. I'm sure if I went back to it, some of the others would stand out a bit more, but I'm highly unlikely to go back to it. In fact, I did actually get, as well as all the vinyl albums, I did get the CD copies. I don't think I got this one on CD though. I can't remember getting it. Maybe I don't. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't for the collection. But we'll see.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. So, King of Stage, Under the Blue Moon.
Let's give the album a rating out of 10 then. What would you give, Miss J? What would you give Under the Blue Moon out of 10? What score?
I'll give it an 8.
And what would you give King of Stage?
Wow.
A 2.
Wow.
Maybe
Andy,
a 3.
what would you
Maybe
give?
a 3.
Okay, we'll go with 3 then. What would you give in New Edition out of 10?
I think when you think about, I probably would give it. I mean, as I said, at first I listened to it, I was shocked. I think I've grown to love it. That means I'm not thinking about. I'm not thinking about how it would have been in 1986 when the Janet Jackson album, Freddie Jackson, as well as Billy Ocean, when they were doing more, and with Lionel Richie, more pop type of R&B. But I would give it a 5. I mean, the only thing it scores high is just because it influenced the next generation of music. But yeah, 5.
What Bobby Brown is 5 or the New Edition album 5?
The New Edition album, I think it was a 6.
You give that 6.
I think that was a 6. Yeah.
Okay.
I think as a concept album, I did prefer it. But I give the King of Stage a 5.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll give Bobby Brown.
Mr. J, what about you?
She's already done it. She said
Go ahead, Stevie.
3
Yeah.
for Bond and 8 for New Edition. So I'm going to go with 3 for new. I'm going to go with 3 for New Edition, and I'm going to just 3 for New Edition, Miss J, and I'm going to go with 6 for Bobby Brown. A good, commendable 6 debut album. Not a classic, not terrible, somewhere in the middle. A very generous 6. But that New Edition can go back to the 50s. That can go back. That can, get in the Doctor Who's TARDIS and get converted back to the 1950s for me. You can go under the blue moon, as far as I'm concerned. Get under the blue moon. And with that, folks, I hope you've enjoyed it tonight. I hope you've enjoyed this rather rambunctious, crazy, fun, at times Tetris podcast that we've had this evening. Coming out with some big words tonight. Very big words.
Yes. It was a different one, but as I said, we had to combine both albums. One is a concept, one was all over the place. But 2 years later, they produced. Well, I would say 18 months later, they both came out with some of the most amazing albums and songs. Yes, iconic. Okay. All right, guys. So
and before you all go, I just got to say, before you all go, where's he gone? Yes, before you all go, one drunk man is more intelligent than 3 women with PhDs. Oh, that's trending at the moment, by the way. That's trending on social media. African guy. He sat there going, one drunk man is more intelligent than 3 women with PhDs. Oh, brilliant.
Hashtag Stevie Street. Okay, guys. We will capture it from there, and we'll be back shortly. So, from me, Miss J, and Stevie Street, we bid you a good night.
Good night, folks. Thanks for tuning
in. Yes, thanks for tuning in. And then, as I said, we will get you at another time. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that kind.
And somewhere in between us, or even loving us, on which I didn't miss you.
What was it like growing up?
She's still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple of pieces.